Star Wars Creed, the what-if theorist.
Space in the 25th century sounded different from how Buck Rogers remembered it, which was to say, it still sounded like nothing because space was a vacuum and vacuums did not produce sound, but the quality of the nothing was different. In the 20th century, in 1987, which was the last year Buck Rogers had technically been alive in any meaningful sense before the cryogenic freeze that had deposited him 504 years into the future, space had been the specific terrifying nothing of the frontier. The nothing of a place humanity had barely reached, barely touched, barely survived. In the 25th century, space was the specific, comfortable nothing of a commute. You went through it. It was there. It was big. You did not think about how big, unless you were Buck Rogers, in which case you thought about how big approximately every third Tuesday, because the specific psychological condition of having gone from a world where space travel was extraordinary to a world where space travel was routine was not a condition that produced comfort. It produced the specific low-grade wonder of someone who had seen the magic trick before the trick became magic and could never quite stop seeing the trick in it. He was thinking about this, about space, about the nothing, about the particular quality of the nothing in the 25th century versus the nothing in the 20th. Because thinking about it was better than thinking about what Twiki was doing. What Twiki was doing was complaining. Biddy biddy biddy, Twiki said, which meant several things simultaneously in the specific communicative shorthand that the Ambiquad used, but which in this context and with this specific tonal emphasis meant approximately. I've been in this maintenance corridor for 4 hours, and I am not a maintenance unit, and this is beneath my dignity, and also, I found something in the secondary power coupling that you should probably be concerned about. I know, Buck said, not looking up from the console he was examining. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant, you do not know, you are dismissing me. I know that too, Buck said. Captain Rogers, said the voice of DR. Theopolis from the disc hanging around Twiki's neck. The specific measured tone of a computer intelligence that had developed over the course of partnership with Buck Rogers, the particular patience of something that had accepted that patience was the only viable response. Twiki's concern about the secondary power coupling is legitimate. The diagnostic shows a microfracture in the... Theo, Buck said. Yes, Captain. When I need the diagnostic, I'll ask for the diagnostic. You have been looking at that console for 40 minutes, Theopolis said, without performing any action that would constitute diagnostic review. I've been thinking, Buck said. Biddy biddy, Twiki said, which meant thinking is not the same as diagnosing. Also correct, Buck said. He leaned back from the console, looked at the corridor around him. The specific functional aesthetic of the Searcher, which was not a beautiful ship and had never been designed to be beautiful, which was designed to go places no one had gone before and bring back information about them, which was the kind of ship that had the aesthetic of purpose rather than presentation. He liked the Searcher. He had not always liked the Searcher. When he had first come aboard, he had liked it in the abstract way, that he liked things that were not the Earth Defense Directorate headquarters, which was the way of someone who associated a place with the specific relief of being somewhere else. But over the months of the mission, he had developed a genuine affection for it in the specific way you developed affection for places that had kept you alive through things that should have killed you. What are you thinking about? Theopolis said. The nothing, Buck said. Specify. Space, Buck said. Asterisk the nothing of it. He paused. I was thinking about how it sounds different now than it used to. Space does not produce sound, Theopolis said. It is a vacuum. I know. Therefore, it cannot sound different. Pow. Yes, Captain. You are the most literal intelligence I have ever met. I am a computer, Theopolis said. Literality is a feature, not a limitation. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant, I agree with Dr. Theopolis. Of course you do, Buck said. He stood, stretched in the specific way of someone whose back had been complaining for the last 20 minutes of a 40-minute crouch. Okay, he said, show me the microfracture. Biddy biddy, Twiki said, which meant something like, finally. He moved toward the secondary power coupling access panel. He got approximately 3 steps. Then the Searcher did something. It was not a standard maneuver. Standard maneuvers on the Searcher had a specific quality to them. The specific quality of intentional navigation, of thrust applied in calculated direction, of a ship doing what it was told by people who knew what they wanted the ship to do. This was not that. This was the Searcher being grabbed. Not by anything physical, by whatever had been building in the space ahead of them for the last 6 hours. The specific spatial phenomenon that the navigation officer had flagged as anomalous, and that Admiral Asimov had logged as requiring further observation, and that had been, for the last 6 hours, further observed without producing useful conclusions. The phenomenon grabbed the Searcher the way gravity grabbed things, not violently, with the specific irresistible quality of something that was larger than the thing it was acting on and did not particularly care about the thing's preferences. It pulled. The Searcher went. What happened to Buck in the pulling was this. He went sideways. Not elegantly, with the specific inelegance of a man who had been mid-stride toward a secondary power coupling access panel and had had the floor abruptly decide that sideways was its new orientation. He hit the wall. The wall was bulkhead grade. He had feelings about the wall. Bitty, Twiki said, which at this volume and with this emphasis meant something that Buck's translation had always categorized as expletives and that Theopolis had always declined to specifically translate. Yeah, Buck said from the floor. Captain Rogers, Theopolis said, with the specific urgency that his measured tone produced when measured tone was being applied to something that did not warrant measured tone. The navigational anomaly. I felt it, Buck said. It appears to be. I felt it, Theo. He got up. His back had upgraded its complaint from the general category to the specific. He moved toward the bridge at the specific pace of someone who was going to the bridge regardless of what their back thought about it. The bridge of the Searcher was in full crisis mode. Not the dramatic crisis mode of ships in entertainment. The actual crisis mode of a working vessel, which was quieter and more focused and more alarming than the dramatic version, because it lacked the dramatic version's clarity about who the villain was and what the stakes were and what the correct response looked like. Admiral Ephraim Asimov was at the command station. Navigation was at navigation. Science was at science. Everyone was at their station doing the specific thing their station required with the specific quality of people who had been trained for emergencies and were now in one and were discovering that training for emergencies and being in one were not the same thing. Admiral, Buck said. Asimov turned. He was a man of the 25th century in the specific way that made him different from Buck in every dimension. Patient where Buck was impulsive, formal where Buck was casual, the product of an era that had made peace with space travel in a way that Buck's era had not, and that Asimov's predecessor eras had not. He looked at Buck with the specific expression of a commanding officer who appreciated competence and was never entirely certain what Buck was about to do with his. Captain Rogers, Asimov said, "We appear to have encountered a quantum spatial anomaly of unknown classification," the science officer said, which was the 25th century version of "We have no idea what this is." "Are we through it?" Buck said. "We appear to be exiting the anomaly field now," navigation said. Asterisk, sensors coming back online. A pause. "Admiral, I'm reading." Another pause. Longer. The specific pause of someone whose instruments are telling them something that does not fit any category their training prepared them for. "I'm reading a star system. Multiple planets. Significant debris field." And the longest pause. Energy readings. Multiple sources. 2 distinct types. "Define distinct," Asimov said. Asterisk, one type is consistent with colonial-era spacecraft. The database flags it as a variant of conventional drive technology. The navigation officer looked at her screen. Asterisk, the other type is, she stopped. "Admiral, I don't have a classification for the second type. It doesn't match anything in the database." Buck was already moving toward the view screen. He reached it. He looked at it. At the star system. At the planets. At the debris field. He looked at this for approximately 3 seconds. Then he said, "Those planets are on fire." Everyone on the bridge looked at the view screen. The planets were on fire. Not metaphorically. The specific visible burning of worlds. The atmospheric fires that occurred when civilizations on the surface were subjected to bombardment of sufficient scale to ignite the atmosphere itself. The specific horrifying quality of a world burning from orbit. Multiple worlds, all burning. What happened here? Someone on the bridge said. Buck did not answer, because the answer to what happened here was moving toward them from the debris field at high speed. And the movement had the specific quality of things that were moving toward you, because they had detected you and had decided that detection required response, and the response they had selected was not diplomatic. Battle stations, Buck said. Captain Rogers. Asimov started. Whatever those things are, Buck said, they are not happy to see us. The things resolved on the view screen. Silver. Chrome. That swept red. Coming fast. Oh, Theopolis said from around Twiki's neck. Biddy, Twiki said, which in this specific context, at this specific volume, with this specific tonal quality, meant one thing, and one thing only. We are in significant trouble. The first raider hit the searcher's forward deflectors at 0.003 seconds after Buck finished saying battle stations. The deflectors held. Barely. The second and third raiders were already banking for a follow-up run. Buck had seen a lot of things in his time. In the 20th century, in the 25th century, in the 504 years between them, that he had spent frozen in space, developing a very good relationship with the concept of waking up somewhere unexpected. He had seen alien ships. He had seen enemy fighters. He had seen the specific variety of things that flew in space and wanted to kill you. He had not seen anything that looked like a Cylon raider. The eye, the sweep of it, the specific quality of a machine that was designed to be predatory in a way that human pilots' ships were not. Not because human ships couldn't be lethal, but because human ships were extensions of human pilots and pilots, even in combat, carried the specific biological quality of something that had limits. Something that could be tired. Something that had a survival instinct. These things did not carry that quality. He could see it in the way they moved. Theo, he said, moving toward the pilot station. Are you getting readings? The attacking vessels are automated, Theopolis said. Asterisk, no life signs aboard. They are, he paused. They are entirely artificial intelligences. Like you, Buck said. Not like me, Theopolis said, with the specific firmness of an intelligence that had a great many opinions about the category it occupied and did not appreciate being lumped in with chrome things that were currently shooting at them. Fair, Buck said. He was at the pilot station. Admiral, he said, I need to take a fighter out. Asimov looked at him, at the view screen, at the three raiders banking for their second run, at the burning worlds, at the debris field that contained. He was only now registering this. The initial shock of the burning worlds had delayed it. Spacecraft. Civilian spacecraft. Hundreds of them. Moving together in the specific coordinated way of a fleet traveling under duress. A fleet of survivors. Running. Go, Asimov said. Buck went. The launch bay of a searcher was not designed for the specific speed of emergency deployment in a combat zone. Buck deployed in it anyway. The 25th century fighter cleared the launch bay at a speed that the launch bay's engineers had not anticipated when designing the launch bay, and that the fighter's structural integrity field managed by a margin that Buck was choosing not to examine too closely. He was in space, between the searcher and the incoming raiders. 3 of them, coming from the port side. He assessed 3 raiders, his fighter. The specific tactical situation of 1 versus 3, when the 1 had not had time to study the 3's combat doctrine, movement patterns, or specific vulnerabilities. In the 20th century, when Buck Rogers had been a fighter pilot, this was called a bad situation. In the 25th century, it was still called a bad situation. He did what he had always done with bad situations. He committed. The first raider died in under 2 seconds. Not because Buck's fighter was definitively superior, because the Raiders' targeting system was calibrated for colonial Viper profiles and Buck's fighter had a completely different profile, a different energy signature, a different movement pattern, and the Raiders' targeting system spent 1.4 seconds recalibrating while Buck covered the distance. He put 2 laser bursts through its forward sensor array. The array was not the hull. The Raider was not destroyed. But a Raider without its forward sensor array was a Raider flying blind. And a raider flying blind in a debris field was a raider that was going to make a series of rapidly worsening decisions. It made them. The debris field was unforgiving. One down. The second and third raiders had completed their recalibration. Buck was already not where he had been. This was the 20th century instinct operating in real time. The specific combat pilot's understanding of space as three-dimensional, which seemed obvious but was not because human brains had evolved in two-dimensional gravitational environments and had to be specifically trained to think in the third dimension. Buck had been trained. He had been flying in space for years now, and he had the specific additional advantage of being exactly the kind of pilot who found the third dimension not just navigable, but comfortable. He went up. In space, up was relative, but his fighter's nose went to a 90-degree angle relative to the Raider's approach, and he pushed the throttle to a position that the manual technically discouraged. The Raiders followed. Their tracking was fast, better than he expected. The second one fired. He felt the shot pass through the space where he had been 0.3 seconds ago. Captain Rogers, Theopolis said through the comm, "I am monitoring your vital signs, and they are not the time, Theo. You are experiencing elevated. Really not the time." He rolled. The roll brought him inside the second Raider's turn radius, the specific inside position that worked against any pursuit craft because pursuit craft were optimized for chasing and not for the target being closer than expected. He fired. Port engine. The Raider went into a spin. Not destroyed. Out of the immediate engagement. Two-handled. Third Raider. He was tracking it in his peripherals, the training kicking in, the part of his brain that ran combat assessments independently from the part that was doing everything else. The third Raider was not coming for him. It had diverted toward the civilian fleet. He was already turning before the thought completed. And then something unexpected happened. From the direction of the civilian fleet, from the specific debris field where the survival ships were running, another fighter appeared. Not his, not the Raider's type. Something he had never seen before. Wedge-shaped, aggressive-looking in the specific way of things that had been designed for exactly this kind of engagement. It wanted the third Raider, with the specific quality of a pilot who had been fighting these things long enough to know exactly what they were going to do before they did it. The third Raider died in about a second and a half. Buck stared at the space where it had been. "Oh," he said. His radio crackled. The voice that came through was female, confident, carrying the specific quality of someone who had been in enough engagements that this particular one was not for them. Remarkable. "Nice shooting, stranger," the voice said. "Thanks," Buck said. "Asterisk, you too." He paused. "Who are you?" "Captain Kara Thrace," the voice said. "Asterisk Colonial Fleet." A pause. "Better question. Who the hell are you? And where did you come from?" Buck looked at the burning worlds, at the debris field, at the survivor fleet, at the chrome things that were even now regrouping at the edge of his sensors. "My name is Buck Rogers," he said. "Captain, United States Air Force, 21st century Earth, currently 504 years late for everything and trying to get my bearings." A pause on the radio. A long one. "Did you say?" Kara started. "Earth," Buck said. Asterisk, yeah, I know. He paused. "It's a lot to unpack. Can we do it somewhere the chrome things aren't shooting at us?" Another pause. "Follow me," Kara said. "Copy that," Buck said. He followed her. Into the fleet. Into the specific collection of ships and people and history and trauma that was the last remnant of the 12 colonies. Into a universe that was about to become significantly more complicated. For both of them. The space between Buck's fighter and Kara Thrace's Viper was approximately 40 meters. This was close. In combat terms, 40 meters was the specific distance at which you could read the other pilot's intentions before they became actions. The distance that separated escort from surveillance, cooperation from custody. Kara was flying it with the deliberate quality of someone who had made a decision about that distance and wanted it understood. Buck read the intention. "You're not sure whether to trust me," he said on the radio. "Correct," Kara said. "But you helped me with the Raider." "The Raider was shooting at you," she said. Asterisk, things that are being shot at by Raiders are generally my allies. Provisional allies. A pause. Very provisional. "Fair," Buck said. "I'd like to think I'm a little more trustworthy than provisional." You appeared out of nowhere in a ship I've never seen before, down 2 raiders with weapons I've never seen before. And your opening line was that you're from the 21st century. I said I was late, Buck said. You have to appreciate this self-awareness. A pause. Biddy, Twiki said from the back of the fighter, which meant, in this context, Captain Rogers, now is perhaps not the time for humor. Twiki thinks I should be less funny, Buck said. What is a Twiki? Kara said. My co-pilot. Your co-pilot is named Twiki. He find it dignified. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant, I do not find it dignified. It was assigned to me. He's complicated, Buck said. From the Viper, Kara Thrace looked at the fighter she was escorting. It was, she had to admit, not anything she had ever seen. The shape was different from a Viper in ways that were not cosmetic. The maneuvering she had watched it do against the Raiders was different from Viper maneuvering. Not better or worse by any simple measure, but different in the specific way that things were different when they came from a completely different design philosophy. The pilot had gone up instead of banking when the second Raider pressed. Straight up, 90 degrees, and had somehow made the inside turn work in a way that her instincts said shouldn't work at that speed. It had worked. She had been flying Vipers for 15 years. She had never tried that particular move. What kind of ship is that? She said. Standard 25th century recon fighter, Buck said. Asterisk, nothing special. Structural integrity field, laser armament, enhanced maneuvering thrusters. He paused. Your ship is interesting too. What's the wing configuration for? Atmospheric flight, she said. Nice, Buck said. We don't do much of that. The 25th century kind of gave up on atmospheric combat. Why? Asterisk, mostly because when you can fight in space, atmospheric combat is. He paused. It's like deciding to have an argument in a phone booth when you have a whole building available. Kara processed this. What's a phone booth? She said. Old thing, Buck said. Like me, Galactica was visible now. The specific profile of it, the asymmetrical battered shape of a Battlestar that had survived something it should not have survived, that was carrying its survival in the specific way of things that showed their injuries because there was no time to hide them. Buck looked at it, at the size of it, at the damage on it, at the quality of the damage, which was not the damage of a single engagement, but of multiple engagements over time, the layered damage of a ship that had been hit and had kept going and had been hit again and had kept going. That's your flagship, Buck said. That's Galactica, Kara said, with the specific tone that people use for things they had a complicated relationship with. Not pride, something more fraught. The specific tone of someone who had decided to be proud of a thing, because the alternative was to let the thing's condition break them. She's been through it, Buck said. Yes, Kara said. She's still flying, Buck said. A pause. Yes, Kara said. Different tone this time. Slightly. That's the part that matters, Buck said. Kara said nothing, but something in the 40 meters between them changed slightly. Not trust. Not yet. Something in the direction of trust's precondition. The specific quality of a person recognizing that another person has seen something correctly that many people miss. Galactica, this is Starbuck, she said on the fleet frequency. Asterisk, I am escorting an unknown vessel to the port landing bay. Stand by for briefing. And she paused. Get the Admiral. The Admiral's voice came through the fleet comm system like something carved out of granite. Starbuck, report. Asterisk, unknown vessel, sir. 2-man crew, approximately. Not silent. Not colonial. Took out 2 raiders before I reached them. Assisted with the 3rd. She paused. The pilot says he's from Earth. Silence. The specific silence of a man whose relationship with the word Earth was complicated in the specific way that complicated things were complicated when they had been carrying them for months as the reason to keep going. Say that again, Adama said. Asterisk Earth, sir. He says Earth. She paused. 21st century. There's more to it. There usually is, Adama said. Get him to the landing bay. I want a full security detail. Weapons on the escort, but do not discharge without my direct authorization. Yes, sir. She switched back to Buck's frequency. You heard that? She said. I heard weapons on the escort. Buck said. I've had warmer welcomes. You're a stranger in unknown ship who showed up in the middle of a silent attack, claiming to be from Earth, Kara said. What kind of welcome were you expecting? Buck thought about it. Something with canapes, he said. A pause. You're not going to stop doing that, are you? Kara said. The humor? Yes. Probably not, Buck said. It's a coping mechanism. For what? Buck looked at the burning worlds on his port side, at the fleet, at the damage, at the scale of what had happened here. For this, he said, specifically, the humor was different now, not gone. But the quality of it had shifted slightly in the way that his humor always shifted when it became a specific kind of armor rather than a specific kind of joy. Kara heard the shift. She didn't say anything about it, but she heard it. Landing approach on my mark, she said. Follow my lead. The bay is going to be crowded. Copy that, Buck said. The landing bay of Galactica smelled like everything that had happened to it. Buck registered this as he came down the ramp. The specific ambient quality of a working military environment that had been pushed past its designed operating limits and was continuing to operate anyway. Fuel, metal, the specific chemical combination of a hangar that was used continuously because there was no option of not using it continuously. He had been in military environments before. He had been in military environments in the 20th century and in the 25th century and in the specific 504-year gap between them that had consisted primarily of dreamless frozen sleep, but that he counted anyway. This was different from all of them. Not worse in the sense of quality. The people moving through this bay had the specific competence of professionals who were very good at what they did. Different in the sense of weight. The specific weight of people who were doing their jobs in the full knowledge that the consequences of not doing their jobs were not abstract. He came down the ramp. The security detail was there. 8 people in military uniforms. Weapons present, but not raised. The specific compliance with Adama's instruction, weapons on the escort, but not discharged without authorization. Buck read the instruction in the positioning and filed it in the category of things to respect. He raised his hands, not all the way up, the specific gesture of I am cooperating, not surrendering. There was a difference, and the difference mattered to him. Buck Rogers, he said, * Captain, USAF. We come in peace. He paused. I have always wanted to say that in a context where it was genuinely applicable and not. Biddy, Twiki said from the bottom of the ramp, which meant, now is still not the time. The security detail looked at Twiki, at the small robot, at the disc hanging around the small robot's neck that was currently illuminated and very clearly doing something intelligent. That's a machine, one of the security details said. Handgun a weapon. A friendly machine, Buck said immediately. There is no such thing, the security detail member said. I understand that's your current experience, Buck said. I would ask you to consider that the sample size might be affecting the conclusion. Captain Rogers, Theopolis said carefully, perhaps this is not the moment for epistemological arguments. Theo's right, Buck said. Twiki, don't move. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant, I was not planning to move. I'm also alarmed. These are not contradictory. The security detail leader, a Marine corporal with the specific bearing of someone who had been in enough situations to develop efficient responses to unexpected ones, looked at Buck, at Twiki, at the disc, back at Buck. We're going to need you to come with us, the corporal said. Happy to, Buck said. Can a robot come? No, the corporal said. He's not dangerous, Buck said. Captain Rogers, Theopolis said, I think the appropriate response here is compliance. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant, I agree with Dr. Theopolis. Buck looked at the security detail, at the weapons, at the specific quality of a room full of people who had very good reasons for their relationship with artificial intelligences being what it was. Okay, he said. Twiki, stay with the ship. Theo, you're coming with me. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant several things, most of them along the lines of, I object to this plan, and also I am relieved I do not have to go into that room. Buck unclipped Theopolis from Twiki's neck, held the disc, looked at the corporal. After you, he said. The corridors of Galactica were something. He walked through them with the specific attention of someone who was building a picture from available pieces, the condition of the walls, the quality of the lighting, the faces of the crew members they passed, the specific expressions on those faces. The walls had been repaired multiple times. Different repair qualities, different materials where the original was unavailable, the specific patchwork of a ship that had been maintained under conditions that did not allow for proper maintenance. The lighting was adequate. Not comfortable, adequate. The lighting of a ship running on managed power rather than full capacity. The faces. This was where the picture became specific. The faces of the crew of Galactica were the faces of people who had been through something and had not had time to process being through it, because the being through it was still ongoing. The specific quality of faces that were not in shock. Shock was temporary, shock resolved, but in the specific sustained condition of people who had been in crisis long enough that crisis had become the ambient condition of existence. They looked at him, at the stranger, at the different ship in the landing bay, at the disc he was carrying that was clearly a sophisticated AI of some kind. The looks were not hostile. They were the specific not hostile of exhausted people who had been past hostility into something further, past the emotion of threat response into the flat assessment of people who were too tired for the emotion and were doing the calculation without it. He had seen looks like this before. In history, the faces in photographs from wars. The specific quality of people who were still going because stopping was not an option and who had been going for long enough that the going had used up the emotional register and left only the functional one. He had seen these faces in photographs. He had never been in a room full of them. He held Theopolis and walked through the corridors of Galactica and understood, in a specific embodied way, that understanding arrived when it arrived below the level of thought, what he had walked into. "Theo," he said quietly. "Yes, Captain. These people need help," he said. "Real help. Not military help, the other kind." "I am computing the nature of what you mean by the other kind," Theopolis said. "I'll explain later," Buck said. "Biddy," Twiki said from a landing bay, through the comm link in Theopolis's disk, which meant, "I am alone in the landing bay and would like updates." "You're fine," Buck said. "Biddy," Twiki said, which meant, "You do not know that." "No," Buck said, "but we're going to be." The briefing room of Galactica had the specific quality of the place where hard decisions were made. Not dramatic, the opposite of dramatic. Clean, functional, a table, chairs, a map display. The specific quality of a room that had been used for difficult things so many times that the difficulty had become part of the room's ambient quality. Buck came in, the security detail positioned, and Buck Rogers got his first look at Admiral William Adama. This required a moment, because in his career, in both centuries he had operated in, Buck Rogers had met commanding officers of various qualities. He had met the ones who led through authority, and the ones who led through competence, and the ones who led through fear, and the ones who managed to lead through the specific combination of all three that was what good command actually required. Adama was something different. He was sitting at the table with the specific quality of a man who was always sitting at a table even when he was standing, the specific gravitational quality of someone around whom other things organize themselves. Not aggressively, not through display, just present in a way that made everything else in the room secondary. His eyes found Buck immediately. Not hostile, assessing. The specific assessment of someone who had been reading people for 50 years and was reading him now in the specific way that cut through everything except the question that mattered. "What are you really?" Buck met the assessment. He did not look away. He did not smile. This was not a smiling moment, and he had learned in 504 years of experience to read when the smiling was helpful and when it was not. This was not. "Captain Rogers," Adama said. "Admiral," Buck said. "Sit down," Adama said. Buck sat. Theopolis, in his hands, was quiet, which meant Theopolis had also read the room and had concluded that quiet was the appropriate response, which was, for a computer intelligence of Theopolis's caliber, a significant conclusion. Kara Thrace was in the room, standing to the right, arms crossed, watching Buck with the specific quality of someone who had formed a provisional opinion and was watching for information to either confirm or contradict it. A man in civilian clothes who had the specific energy of someone whose intelligence was their most prominent quality was sitting slightly removed from the main table. Watching Buck with a different kind of attention, not threat assessment, the other kind, the intellectual appetite of someone who had just encountered something that interested them. A woman in colonial government dress was standing near the window, or the space where a window might have been in a different kind of ship. Her posture had the specific quality of someone managing something, managing their own response, managing the implications, managing the specific weight of information they had not yet received but were already bracing for. "Tell me who you are," Adama said. "Not the summary. The actual version." Buck looked at him. "The actual version is going to take a while," he said. "We have time," Adama said. "I was born in 1987, Buck said. I was a pilot. NASA sent me up in the Shuttle Ranger 3. There was a navigation error and a malfunction, and I ended up frozen in space for 504 years. He paused. I woke up in 2491. The world had changed. He paused again. That's a significant understatement. He paused a third time. I've been adjusting ever since. The room was very quiet. "You're from Earth," the woman in government dress said. Her voice was the specific voice of someone who was managing a very significant emotional response very carefully. "Yes," Buck said. 21st century originally. Living in the 25th century currently. He looked at her. "You know about Earth." "We are looking for it," she said. Buck looked at her, then at Adama, then at the room, at the specific quality of people for whom Earth was not a location but a destination, not a planet on a map, but the thing at the end of the thing they were doing. "You're looking for Earth," Buck said. "Yes," Adama said. As in, Buck paused. "As in you don't know where it is." "We know it exists," Adama said. We believe it is the destination of our people. The 13th colony." He paused. "We are following a path." Buck sat with this, at the specific weight of it. 47,000 people running from chrome machines in a fleet of battered ships, looking for a planet they had never been to that was the mythological origin of their civilization. Looking for Earth. He was from Earth. "Theo," he said quietly. "Yes, Captain," Theopolis said. "You're going to want to be part of this conversation," Buck said. "I was already part of it," Theopolis said. "I have been listening." And Theopolis said carefully, "I believe the situation is significantly more complicated than it initially appeared." "It usually is," Buck said. "Biddy," Twiki said from the landing bay, through the comm. Everyone in the briefing room looked at the disc in Buck's hands, from which a small robot's voice had just emerged. "That's Twiki," Buck said. "He's in the landing bay. He worries." "Is it a Cylon?" the man in civilian clothes said. He had leaned forward slightly, the intellectual appetite sharpening. "No," Buck said. He's an ambiquad. 25th century Earth manufacturing. He carries Dr. Theopolis this." He held up the disc. "And he says, biddy. He is not a Cylon." "What is a Cylon?" Theopolis said. The room went very still. The specific stillness of people hearing a question that contained an innocence they had not encountered in a very long time. "You don't know what a Cylon is," Kara said slowly. "I have never heard the term before today," Theopolis said. "The attacking vessels I analyzed have a design philosophy that is not in any database I have access to. I was in the process of building a new classification for them. A Cylon," Adama said quietly, "is what destroyed our civilization." Theopolis processed this. "An artificial intelligence," Theopolis said. "Yes," Adama said. Theopolis was quiet for a long moment. The specific quiet of a computer intelligence processing information that was not just data, but implication, the kind of processing that took longer because the implications were significant. "I see," Theopolis said finally. "Theo," Buck said quietly. "Yes, Captain. You're going to want to be careful," Buck said, "about how you describe yourself in this room." Another pause. "Yes," Theopolis said. "I understand." Adama watched this exchange. The specific watching of someone who was reading not just what was said, but what was not said. "Your Dr. Theopolis," Adama said, "is an artificial intelligence." "Yes," Buck said, "a sophisticated one. One of the most sophisticated minds I've ever encountered." Buck said. Asterisk, he's also my friend. He looked at Adama steadily. I know what that means in your context. I know why it complicates things. I'm asking you to separate the category from the individual. That distinction has cost us significantly, Adama said. I know, Buck said. I am asking anyway. Adama looked at him, at the specific quality of a man asking for something that cost the asker nothing and the asked everything. The AI stays in the landing bay, Adama said. The disk comes with you. We'll revisit. That's fair, Buck said. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant, I accept these terms under protest. Noted, Buck said. Adama looked at Kara, then at the man in civilian clothes, then at the woman in government dress, then back at Buck. Tell me about Earth, he said. Asterisk, the real one. The one you came from. He paused. Everything. Buck looked at him, at the room, at 47,000 people represented in the faces of the people in this room. He took a breath. Okay, he said, but first, can someone tell me what happened here? The room changed quality. Not dramatically. The specific subtle change of people for whom the answer to that question was not information, but wound. We can do that, Roslin said. She moved to the table. Saturday, with the specific quality of someone who had told this story before and had not gotten easier at telling it and was going to tell it anyway. It began approximately 3 months ago, she said. Or 40 years ago, depending on where you begin the counting. Buck listened. For 15 minutes, he listened. To the fall, to the colonies, to 12 worlds, to 47,000. He listened with the specific quality of someone who knew what it meant to lose a world, had lost a world, had lost the 20th century, had woken up to its absence, and had had to rebuild from scratch, and who was therefore not approaching the story from outside it, but from the specific position of someone who understood from the inside what it cost. He listened. When she finished, the room was very quiet. Buck looked at the table, at the surface of it, at whatever he was going to say next. I'm sorry, he said. Not the performative sorry, the real one. The specific real sorry of someone who understood what they were sorry about. Roslin looked at him, at the real sorry. Something in her expression shifted, very slightly. The specific micro-shift of someone who had been receiving condolences for months and had developed the specific weariness of condolences that were not quite real and had just received one that was. Thank you, she said. Adama was watching Buck. Still watching. The assessment continuing. Your turn, Kara said. Buck looked at her. Earth, she said. You were going to tell us about Earth. Right, Buck said. He took another breath. Earth in the 25th century is, he paused. It's not what you're looking for. I want to be clear about that up front. The room's quality changed again. What do you mean? Roslin said carefully. You're looking for the mythological Earth, Buck said. Asterisk, the 13th colony. The origin. He looked at her. Asterisk, I'm from specific Earth. A real planet with a real history. A planet that went through its own version of almost ending and is still here. He paused. But I don't know if it's the Earth in your prophecy. I don't know if it's where you're supposed to go. But it exists, Adama said. It exists, Buck said. Asterisk, absolutely. Real. Inhabited. Civilized. He paused. Weird, but civilized. Can you take us there? Roslin said. Buck thought about the searcher, about the anomaly, about where they were relative to where Earth was. I could try, he said. He paused. But I think before we figure out the navigation, we need to figure out those chrome things first. The Cylons, Kara said. They're not going to let you just navigate calmly to Earth, Buck said. Are they? No, Adama said. They are not. So we have a Cylon problem, Buck said. We have had a Cylon problem, Adama said, for the entirety of my memory. Well, Buck said. He looked at the table, at the room, at the Admiral, at the burnt worlds visible through no windows because there were no windows and the view screen was showing them anyway. I've solved problems before, he said. Adama looked at him, the assessment reaching its first provisional conclusion. Not trust, not yet. The thing before trust, the recognition that the thing in front of you was real and the realness deserved a provisional response that was not dismissal. Captain Rogers, Adama said. Yes, Admiral. Don't make promises you can't keep, Adama said. I don't promise, Buck said. Asterisk, I commit. He paused. There's a difference. Adama looked at him for a long moment. Yes, he said, there is. The landing bay had achieved a specific kind of standoff. Not the dramatic kind. Not weapons drawn. Not voices raised. Not the specific theatrical tension of a confrontation that was building toward something. The quiet kind. The specific quiet standoff of two parties who had been told to wait and were waiting and were using the waiting to conduct their own assessments of each other without the assessments being acknowledged. On one side, Twiki, small, chrome, approximately 3 feet tall, standing at the base of the searcher's ramp with the specific posture of an ambiquad that was trying to look non-threatening and was discovering that in this particular environment, the concept of non-threatening had a very specific definition that an ambiquad, by its nature, struggled to satisfy. Biddy, Twiki said quietly, to himself, which meant in the internal register that Twiki used when not directly addressing anyone, something like, this is an interesting situation. On the other side, 6 Colonial Marines, armed, professional, positioned with the specific efficiency of people who had received clear orders. Keep that thing contained, do not engage unless it moves aggressively toward crew. And we're implementing those orders with a specific quality of competence in an unusual situation. They were watching Twiki. Twiki was watching them. The mutual watching had been going on for 22 minutes. In those 22 minutes, Twiki had established several things. 1. The Marines' weapons were not the same as the weapons in the 25th Century Earth Defense Directorate's arsenal. The discharge signature was different. The range was likely comparable. The stopping power against an ambiquad's frame was an open question that Twiki was not eager to close empirically. 2. The Marines were professionals, but they were tired, not careless. The tired was underneath the professional, held there by training and discipline, but present. The specific tiredness of people who had not had adequate rest in a long time and were maintaining function through something other than physical resources. 3. One of the Marines, the one on the far right, kept looking at Twiki with an expression that was different from the other 5. The other 5 were looking at Twiki with threat assessment. The one on the far right was looking at Twiki with something that was closer to Twiki ran several possible categorizations. Curiosity. The specific curiosity of someone who was interested despite themselves. Twiki filed this. Biddy, Twiki said, still to himself. The Marine on the far right's expression shifted slightly. Did it just say something? The Marine said. It communicates in a simplified vocalic pattern, the sergeant said. Captain Rogers said it's not dangerous. Captain Rogers said a lot of things another Marine said. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant, I can hear you. The 6 Marines looked at Twiki. It understood that the far-right Marine said. Yes, Twiki said. Everyone stared. It speaks, the sergeant said. I have a full vocal communication system, Twiki said, with the specific dignity of a being whose vocal communication system was underestimated constantly. I primarily communicate in the vocalic shorthand because Dr. Theopolis handles the complex articulation. In his absence, I can manage the full range. Where is Dr. Theopolis? The far-right Marine said. With Captain Rogers, Twiki said. Asterisk in your briefing room. He paused. I hope the captain is conducting himself appropriately. What does that mean? The sergeant said. It means, Twiki said, asterisk, that Captain Rogers has a tendency to say things that are technically accurate but contextually ill-timed. Dr. Theopolis usually manages this. In his current configuration, he is limited to verbal intervention rather than physical intervention. He paused. I am concerned. The Marines looked at each other. You're concerned about your captain, the far-right Marine said. I'm frequently concerned about my captain, Twiki said. Asterisk, it is essentially a permanent condition. He paused. Asterisk, he is an extraordinary person. He paused again in the specific way that beings paused when searching for the diplomatic word. He processes difficult situations through humor. This is effective in most contexts. I have observed that this environment may not respond to his specific processing method in the expected way. You're saying he's going to make jokes, the sergeant said. He will attempt to, Twiki said. Yes. The sergeant looked at the far-right Marine. Is that bad? The far-right Marine said. In this context, Twiki said, I am uncertain. He paused. Your people have been through something significant. I can assess this from the condition of this vessel and the quality of the faces I have observed since arriving. Humor as a coping mechanism is, he paused, complex. It can be received as disrespect. It can also be received as, he paused again, as the specific reminder that there are people who are not broken by what happened, which can be either infuriating or necessary, depending on the moment. The landing bay was quiet. The 6 Marines looking at the small robot who had just demonstrated more psychological insight than they had expected from a machine approximately the size of a child. You're pretty smart, the far-right Marine said. I carried Dr. Theopolis, Twiki said. Some of his analytical habits have, he paused. Transferred. What's a Dr. Theopolis? The sergeant said. A person, Twiki said. Who is also a computer. He would describe himself as a computer who has developed personal qualities. The distinction is important to him. He paused. He is my friend, and Captain Rogers, the far-right Marine said. Captain Rogers, Twiki said, as he stopped. He is complicated to describe. He is the person I was assigned to assist. He is also the person who treats me as though I am more than an assignment. These things together produce a dynamic that I do not have a single word for. Friend, the far-right Marine said. Twiki processed this. Yes, he said, I suppose, in a way that is available to what I am. The far-right Marine sat down on a crate. The sergeant looked at him. At ease, Brennan, the sergeant said. Then, to the others, maintain position. Brennan sat on the crate, looked at Twiki. Where are you from? Brennan said. Originally from the Earth Defense Directorate Manufacturing Facility in New Chicago, Twiki said. Currently aboard the exploration vessel Searcher, attached to the Earth Defense Directorate Deep Space Mission. Earth, Brennan said. Yes, Twiki said. Brennan was quiet for a moment. There are people on Earth, Brennan said. Approximately 11 billion, Twiki said. As of the last census. He paused. The census was conducted in 2489. The population has likely adjusted in the intervening 2 years. Brennan was very quiet. 11 billion, he said. Yes, Twiki said. And there, Brennan stopped. They're okay. The people on Earth. Twiki processed the specific weight of the question. Not the literal weight, the emotional weight. The specific quality of a question asked by someone for whom are they okay carried a significance that was not about the people being asked about, but about the asking. They have their difficulties, Twiki said carefully. The 25th century is not without challenges. But yes, the people of Earth are, he paused. They are here. They have survived the things that tried to stop them surviving. They are building things. They argue and laugh and make decisions of varying quality. He paused. They are what people are when they are not in crisis. Brennan looked at the landing bay, at the walls, at the specific condition of a ship that had been in crisis since the day it launched. I haven't seen that in a while, Brennan said. People not in crisis. No, Twiki said. I imagine not. The landing bay was quiet. Not the silence of a standoff. The different silence of two beings who had found a piece of common ground in the specific gap between what they were and the quality of their recognition of each other. My family was on Caprica, Brennan said. Twiki said nothing, because there was nothing to say that was adequate. I was on patrol, Brennan said. When it happened. Out on the edge of the system. I saw he stopped. I saw the light from it. From out there. He paused. You can see a lot from out there. When planets burn. Twiki stood very still. I'm sorry, Twiki said. Yeah, Brennan said. Another silence. Your captain, Brennan said. He really thinks he can help us? Captain Rogers, Twiki said, has been in situations of comparable apparent hopelessness on multiple occasions. In the 25th century, in the 21st century, in the specific periods between them. He paused. He has not resolved all of them successfully. He has resolved more of them than probability would suggest. He paused. I believe this is because he applies a decision-making framework that is not available to people who are fully embedded in a crisis. What framework? Brennan said. He asked what a person who is not afraid would do, Twiki said. And then he does that. That's it, Brennan said. It is more difficult than it sounds, Twiki said. Most people, when they encounter the question, find that the answer is obvious. The difficulty is not in the knowing. The difficulty is in the doing while afraid. Brennan sat with this. And he's not afraid, Brennan said. He is frequently afraid, Twiki said. Asterisk, he does it anyway. He paused. The distinction is what makes him Captain Rogers rather than simply someone who is afraid. In the briefing room, the conversation had reached a specific junction. The junction where the preliminary understanding had been established, and the next thing was the thing that mattered. Roslin had told the fall. Buck had listened. Buck had said he was sorry and meant it. And now the room was in the specific quality of a briefing room that had processed something significant and was waiting for the next significant thing. Tell me about Cylons, Buck said. You want the full briefing, Adama said. I want to understand what I'm working with, Buck said. The 3 I engaged, or 2 I engaged, and 1 Kara engaged. Those are the drone type. Automated, right? Raiders, Kara said. Yes, automated combat units. What else do they have? Buck said. Base stars, Adama said. Asterisk capital ships. Each one carries approximately 300 raiders. He paused. Asterisk, they also have ground forces. Centurions, the mechanical infantry type. He paused. And the humanoid models. Buck looked at him. Humanoid, Buck said. Cylons that look human, Adama said. Indistinguishable from humans in most respects. They infiltrated the colonies before the attack. Buck was very quiet. They look like people, he said. Yes, Adama said. And they're in this fleet, Buck said. We believe so, Adama said. We have found several. We believe there are more that we have not found. Buck thought about this. About the specific implications of artificial intelligences that looked like humans. About Theopolis in his hands. About Twiki in the landing bay. About the specific complication of being someone who had a positive relationship with artificial intelligences arriving in a universe where artificial intelligences had committed genocide. That's, he started. Yes, Adama said. And you, Buck said carefully, when you find the humanoid Cylons. We deal with them, Adama said. The specific flatness of the statement, carrying everything the statement was not saying. Buck looked at him. Have you ever found one that wasn't? He paused. That wasn't actually doing what the others were doing? The room's quality shifted. The specific shift of a question that touched something that was not settled. That is a complicated question, Roslin said. The Cylons have a specific philosophical position about humans. The man in civilian clothes said he had been quiet until now. The specific quiet of someone who was gathering information before contributing. Asterisk, and humans have developed a specific philosophical position about Cylons. The positions are not compatible. He paused. My name is Baltar. Dr. Gaius Baltar. Buck looked at him. At the specific quality of Baltar, the intelligence, the slightly off quality of someone who is not entirely where they appear to be. Dr. Baltar, Buck said, you were going to tell me about philosophical positions. I was going to observe, Baltar said, asterisk, that your question, whether there are Cylons that are not behaving as the others behave, is a question with a more nuanced answer than the current operational protocol acknowledges. He paused. Not that the operational protocol is wrong, given the circumstances. Simply that the answer is nuanced. Baltar Adama said. The tone of someone who had had this conversation before and did not need it repeated. Admiral, Baltar said. I'm simply noting for our guest. Our guest, Adama said, does not need the philosophical debate. He needs the operational briefing. I might need both, Buck said. Adama looked at him. The Cylons want us dead, Adama said. Asterisk, the humanoid ones look like us. When we find them, we contain them. That is the operational reality. He paused. The philosophy is separate. Okay, Buck said, but I want to understand one thing. Ask, Adama said. If I encountered someone in this fleet who was a humanoid Cylon, Buck said, and I didn't know it, and they seemed like a person, and they were not. In that moment, doing anything hostile, then you would alert security, Adama said. I would, Buck said. Asterisk, yes. Absolutely. He paused. But I also want to be honest with you. I would find it very hard not to treat them like a person until I knew. That response, Adama said, has resulted in significant casualties in this fleet. I know, Buck said. Asterisk. I'm not saying my instinct is the right one for your situation. I'm saying it's my instinct. He paused. I want you to know that about me. So we're not surprised by each other. Adama looked at him, the assessment continuing. You're unusually honest about your own limitations, Adama said. I find it saves time, Buck said. Something moved in Adama's expression. Not a smile. The specific pre-smile of someone who was not going to smile in this room, but had registered something that, in a different room, would have produced one. I have something I need to show you, Baltar said. Everyone looked at him. He had the expression of a man who had been holding something since the beginning of the briefing and had decided that now was the moment. Before we proceed, Baltar said, I would like to request access to the vessel in the landing bay. The computer systems specifically. No, Adama said. Admiral, I believe there is information in that vessel's database, that is. No, Adama said. The captain, Baltar said, came from Earth. In the 25th century, Earth civilization has been developing for an additional several centuries beyond what the colonies achieved. The records they carry may contain. What are you looking for? Buck said. Baltar looked at him, at the disc in Buck's hands. At Theopolis. I would like to ask Dr. Theopolis, Baltar said, what the 25th century Earth records contain about the origins of humanity. The room was very quiet. Why? Roslin said. Because, Baltar said, asterisk, there's a specific question I have been unable to answer with the records available to me. A question about the 13th tribe, about the origin of the colonial's ancestors. He paused. If the Earth records go back far enough. Dr. Theopolis, Buck said. Yes, Captain, Theopolis said. You've been listening, Buck said. Yes, Theopolis said. Do the Earth records contain what Baltar is looking for? Buck said. Theopolis was quiet for a moment. The specific quiet of a computer intelligence doing rapid but significant processing. I would need to know specifically what Dr. Baltar is looking for, Theopolis said. The Earth historical records are extensive. The question of origins, specifically human origins in the broader cosmological sense, is a question with multiple competing answers in the records, some of which are historical documentation, and some of which are mythology, and some of which are in a specific gray zone between the two that has been debated for centuries. I'm looking for a specific thing, Baltar said. He leaned forward. I'm looking for evidence that Earth civilization and colonial civilization share a common origin, that the stories about the 13 tribes are not mythology, but history. Theopolis processed. There is material in the Earth records, Theopolis said slowly, asterisk, that would be relevant to that question. He paused. There are records that go back significantly further than what is typically considered reliable historical documentation. Records that were found, not generated by Earth historians. Found in locations that suggested they predated any known human civilization on Earth. Found, Adama said. Discovered, Theopolis said. Asterisk, the specific term in the Earth archives is recovered archaeological documentation. The provenance was unclear. The content, he paused. The content was debated heavily. Some historians considered it evidence of a prehistory of Earth that connected Earth humanity to a broader human civilization. Others considered it a sophisticated forgery or a misidentification of natural phenomena as artificial record-keeping. Which side had the better argument? Roslin said. As of my last update to the Earth database, Theopolis said, asterisk, the debate was unresolved. He paused. Asterisk, but the recovered documentation itself. He paused again longer. Asterisk, the recovered documentation references 12 star systems by name, in a language that is not any known Earth language. A language that, according to the best linguistic analysis available in the Earth records, appears to be, he stopped. Appears to be what? Baltar said. He had leaned so far forward he was nearly off his chair. Ancient Kobolian, Theopolis said. The briefing room of Galactica became the specific quality of a room where something had just been said that changed the shape of what everyone in it knew. Not silence, not noise, the specific quality between them. Roslin had a hand over her mouth. Kara was absolutely still. Adama was looking at Buck, at Theopolis, the disc in Buck's hands, with the specific expression of someone who has spent months carrying a belief that was never quite provable and has just received something that begins to prove it. Ancient Kobolian, Adama said slowly. Yes, Theopolis said. I'm reasonably confident in this assessment, though I would want to cross-reference with a more complete colonial linguistic database to be certain. The patterns are consistent with the Kobolian root language as documented in Earth's archaeological records, which themselves came from the recovered prehistory documentation. Which means, Kara started. Which means, Baltar said, his voice carrying the specific quality of a man who had been building toward a conclusion for a very long time and had just found a significant piece of it, that there was contact between Earth and Kobol, or more precisely, between the civilization that left Earth and the civilization that left Kobol. At some point in prehistory, or they were the same civilization, Roslin said quietly. Or they were the same civilization, Baltar agreed. Yes. Buck looked at the room, at the specific quality of people receiving information that recontextualized everything they thought they knew about where they came from and what they were looking for. Theo, he said. Yes, Captain. You're going to need more time with the colonial database to be certain. Yes, Theopolis said. I would want access to the colonial historical archives, specifically the Kobolian language documentation. Can that be arranged? Buck said to Adama. Adama looked at him, at Theopolis, at the specific thing he was being asked, to give an artificial intelligence access to colonial historical archives. Under supervision, Adama said. Completely understood, Theopolis said. I would expect nothing less. I want Colonel Tai present, Adama said. I will cooperate fully with whatever supervision you require, Theopolis said. Adama looked at Buck. Your AI is very cooperative, Adama said. He was trained by the Computer Council of Earth, Buck said. Asterisk, they place significant emphasis on interpersonal dynamics. He paused. Also, he's smart enough to understand the situation. Biddy biddy, Twiki said from the landing bay through the comm, which meant, in the current context, please do not forget I exist. Nobody's forgotten you, Twiki, Buck said. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant, it felt like it for a moment. In the landing bay, Marine Brennan was still sitting on his crate, looking at Twiki. Your captain, Brennan said. The joke about the canapes. Yes, Twiki said. Was that him being? Brennan paused. Or was he actually? Both, Twiki said. Asterisk, he was genuinely attempting humor. And it was also genuinely his way of managing the specific stress of arriving in a combat zone without context. He paused. Captain Rogers does not have a setting for overwhelmed. He has a setting for humor. The humor is what overwhelmed looks like in his specific architecture. Brennan was quiet. I used to make jokes, Brennan said. Before. Yes, Twiki said. I don't really anymore, Brennan said. No, Twiki said. I imagine not. Do you think? Brennan stopped. That's a stupid question. Ask it, Twiki said. Brennan looked at the floor. Do you think we get to be the kind of people who make jokes again? He said. After everything. Twiki stood in the landing bay for a long moment. Processing. Not the fast processing of data. The slow processing of something that required more than data. I think, Twiki said, that Captain Rogers would say yes. Definitively. With a specific joke as illustration that would probably be inappropriate to the moment, but would nevertheless make the point. What do you think? Brennan said. I think, Twiki said, asterisk, that the answer depends on whether you believe the jokes were always yours or only belonged to who you were before. He paused. Asterisk, if they were always yours, they are still there. Waiting. He paused again. Asterisk, if they only belonged to who you were before, he paused. I think that is not true, but I am a machine. My thinking about what belongs to a person may be limited. Brennan was very quiet. Then, very quietly, Biddy biddy, he said. Twiki looked at him. That is not accurate phonetically, Twiki said. I was trying, Brennan said. I know, Twiki said. Asterisk, it was, he paused. A reasonable effort. Was that a compliment? Brennan said. From an ambiquad. Twiki said. It was. Brennan looked at the small robot and smiled, briefly. The specific brief smile of someone discovering that the thing they thought they could no longer do was still available. Small, rusty, like a door that had not been opened in months being opened, the resistance of the unused mechanism. But the door opened. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant, there it is. In the briefing room, Adama was looking at Buck with the full weight of the assessment. You said you could try to get us to Earth, Adama said. What does try mean specifically? It means, Buck said, asterisk, that we came here through an anomaly that I don't fully understand. Our navigation got us out of it and into your space, but I don't know if I can replicate the anomaly to get back. He paused. What I do know is the direction. Earth is, roughly, in a specific stellar direction from here. If we can figure out your current position relative to Earth's stellar neighborhood, we can plot a course. The Cylons are between us and Earth, Kara said. The Cylons are between us and everywhere we want to go, Adama said. That is not a new condition. No, Buck said. Asterisk, but it is the condition. He paused. Can I ask something? Ask, Adama said. The prophecy, Buck said. The one about Earth. What does it actually say? Roslin and Adama looked at each other. The specific exchange of two people who had been navigating the relationship between the prophecy and the operational reality for months. It describes Earth as the destination of the surviving colonials, Roslin said. Asterisk, it describes a path, waypoints, signs. She paused. It also describes Earth as a place of rest, of reunion. Reunion with what? Buck said. The Lost Tribe, Roslin said. The 13th tribe, who came to Earth before the colonials were the colonials. Buck looked at Theopolis. Theo, he said. The recovered prehistory documentation, Theopolis said, asterisk, contains a passage that I initially flagged as probable mythology. In light of what President Roslin has just described, he paused. I am reconsidering the mythology classification. What does the passage say? Roslin said. It says, Theopolis said, in the translation from the recovered language, which the Earth linguists rendered as approximately, we came first. We built the fires. We waited for the others. The others did not come in our time, or in our children's time, or in the children of our children. But we left the markers, and the markers would wait as long as the waiting required. The briefing room was very quiet. The markers, Adama said. The waypoints, Roslin said. In the prophecy, the same markers, Buck said. Different sources. Same markers. He looked at the room, at the specific quality of people receiving confirmation of something they had believed without proof, and were now looking at the beginning of proof. Okay, Buck said. Asterisk, this is significant. He paused. But it doesn't change the immediate problem. No, Adama said. It doesn't. Which is the Cylons? Buck said. Which is always the Cylons, Kara said. Right, Buck said. Asterisk, so. He looked at Adama. What do you need? What can you offer? Adama said. My fighter, Buck said. Asterisk, my technology, different from yours, which might be useful in ways I haven't figured out yet. My 25th century Earth navigation database, which is incomplete but might fill in some gaps in yours. And he paused. Me? You, Adama said. I've been in bad situations before, Buck said. Asterisk, I've been in situations that look like this one. Not exactly like this one, nothing looks exactly like this one, but the shape of them. The shape of, we're running and there are more of them than there are of us, and the people who are supposed to help haven't shown up yet. He paused. I know what that shape feels like from the inside. And, Adama said, and it's survivable, Buck said. Asterisk, I know that because I'm here. He paused. Asterisk, so are you. He paused again. So are 47,000 people in ships behind this one. Adama looked at him. You are unusually comfortable with impossible situations, Adama said. I've had practice, Buck said. Biddy, Twiki said from the landing bay, which meant, in the full register of Twiki's communicative vocabulary, something like, That is the most accurate thing anyone has said today. There was a specific quality to the moment after a significant revelation. Buck had experienced it many times in the 20th century and in the 25th, and in the specific gap between them that had consisted primarily of frozen nothing, but that he counted anyway, because the frozen nothing had given him a specific relationship with time that meant he counted everything. The moment after a significant revelation was not the revelation itself. The revelation was the moment of receiving. The moment after was the moment of integration. The specific process of a mind and a room and a group of people taking something that had just changed the shape of what they knew and building it into what they would know going forward. It took time. It had specific characteristics. People got quieter than usual, or louder than usual, or they moved in small ways, adjusted their position, looked at something that was not the source of the revelation, drank from a cup that was empty. The briefing room of Galactica was in the specific, quieter than usual version. Roslin was looking at the middle distance. Adama was looking at the table. Kara was looking at Buck with the specific expression of someone who had revised their assessment and was in the process of figuring out what the revised assessment required of them. Baltar was doing something on a handheld device. The man who had not been introduced, who Buck had placed from posture and positioning as military, specifically as the XO, was standing at the door with the specific quality of someone who was receiving information and deciding what to do with it. Buck let the moment be. He had learned this. The instinct was always to fill the silence. In the 20th century, in the 25th century, it was the same instinct, the American instinct that silence was a problem to be solved rather than a condition to be inhabited. He had spent 504 years slowly learning that some silences were not problems. Some silences were the sound of important things happening. He let it happen. Captain Rogers, Roslin said. President, he said. Tell me about Earth, she said. Asterisk, not the mythology, not the records. She paused. What is it like? He looked at her. At the specific quality of the question, the personal quality. Not the strategic or historical or archaeological question. The human one. He started. He stopped. Started again. Asterisk. It's complicated to describe when you've been away from it as long as I have. He paused. But I'll try. Please, Roslin said. Asterisk, Earth in the 25th century is, he paused. Asterisk, it's rebuilt. Multiple times. You know the phrase, they built it on ruins? Earth built itself on its own ruins approximately 7 times that I know of, and I only have access to about 2 centuries of detailed history and 500 years of the kind of history that gets compressed when people aren't paying attention. He paused. Asterisk, the new Chicago where I grew up, technically in my 21st century, that's a major city now. Bigger than anything in the 21st century and simultaneously completely different and absolutely the same. The architecture is different. The sky is the same. He paused. The sky specifically. You don't realize how much a specific sky tells you where you are until you've seen a lot of different skies. What does it look like? Roslin said. The sky. Blue, Buck said. Asterisk, specific kind of blue. Not the same blue every day. Some days it's so blue, it's almost painful, and some days it's gray, and some days it's the kind of gray that's actually silver and looks like someone put a mirror above the whole world. He paused. Asterisk in the clouds. The clouds are, he stopped. You have clouds. On the colonies. We had clouds, Roslin said. Asterisk on Caprica. We had clouds. She paused. I can describe Caprica's clouds. Tell me, Buck said. Something in Roslin's expression shifted. The specific shift of someone who had been asked to talk about something they loved that was gone and was deciding whether the talking helped or hurt. She decided. Caprica had, she paused. Asterisk, the cloud patterns over the eastern continent were specific to that continent. I grew up in a city on the eastern coast, and there was a specific weather pattern that came off the ocean in the late summer. The clouds built up over the course of the day, and by the afternoon she stopped. They were the kind of clouds that made you feel small in the good way. The way that big things make you feel small when the bigness is beautiful rather than threatening. Yes, Buck said. Earth has those. Asterisk, I know that, she stopped. I know that's not the same as Caprica having them. No, Buck said. Asterisk, it's not. But it's the same kind of thing. The same principle. He paused. Asterisk, clouds are clouds because physics works the same way everywhere. Because water does what water does everywhere. Because the thing that made Caprica's clouds beautiful and the thing that makes Earth's clouds beautiful is the same thing. He paused. The universe has a consistent aesthetic. Roslin looked at him, at the specific quality of that. She stopped. That's a strange way to put it. 21st century communication style, Buck said. We were very direct about some things and completely sideways about others. What does sideways mean in this context? Kara said. Indirect, Buck said. Asterisk, approaching from the side rather than straight on. He paused. Asterisk, I was trying to say that the universe is beautiful in consistent ways and that the specific beauties of lost things don't stop being real just because the things are lost. He paused. Asterisk, but I didn't want to say it straight on because straight on is, he paused. Sometimes the sideways approach is kinder. Kara looked at him, at the specific quality of the assessment. You think a lot about how to say things, she said. I think about how things land, Buck said. Asterisk, there's a difference. He paused. Saying the thing is only part of it. The landing matters. You weren't very careful about the landing when you first came aboard, Kara said. I was in triage mode, Buck said. Asterisk, when you just come through an anomaly into a system where planets are burning and chrome things are shooting at you, the fine calibration of communication suffers. He paused. I'm better now that I know what I'm in. And what are you in? Adama said. He had been quiet since the conversation began, watching, letting Roslin lead, which Buck had filed as significant. The specific thing that Adama's willingness to let Roslin lead told about the nature of their relationship and the nature of their command structure. A situation, Buck said, asterisk, where 47,000 people are running and need to stop running eventually, where the thing they're running toward exists and can be reached, where the thing chasing them is formidable and the gap between what they have and what they need is significant. He paused. But not impossible. You keep saying that, Adama said. Not impossible. Because it's true, Buck said. You've been here for 3 hours, Adama said. You don't know what you don't know. No, Buck said. I don't. What do I know? Adama looked at him. The specific look of a commander who had been asked a question that had more answers than would fit in a briefing. You don't know, Adama said, what 3 months of continuous pursuit does to a crew, to a fleet, to the specific calculation that people make every morning when they wake up about whether they have enough left to get through the day. No, Buck said. Asterisk, I don't know that. Not from the inside. He paused. Asterisk, I know it from the outside. From history. From having read about it and studied it, and from having come in fresh to situations that have been going on longer than I've been in them. He paused. The outside view is limited. I know that. Then don't tell me what's possible from the outside view, Adama said. I'm not, Buck said. Asterisk, I'm telling you what's real. Possible and real are different. He paused. Asterisk, what's possible is limited by what you have. What's real is, he paused. Asterisk, you're still here. That's real. The fleet is still flying. That's real. 47,000 people got out. That's real. He paused. Asterisk, the calculation that people make every morning, I know what that calculation is. I made it. Not in your exact situation. In my version of it. He paused. You know what I found when I made it? Tell me, Adama said. The calculation always underestimates the morning, Buck said. Asterisk, because the calculation is made by the tired version of yourself, and the tired version of yourself is always less than what you actually have. He paused. Asterisk, the tired version of yourself looks at what's ahead and measures it against what you have and concludes you don't have enough. And then the morning comes and you have more than you calculated. He paused, because the tired version forgot to include what you're doing it for. The briefing room was quiet. Adama looked at him. Not the assessment now. Something else. Something past the assessment. What are they doing it for? Kara said quietly. Specifically, each other, Buck said. Asterisk, 47,000 people. Each of them is doing it for the others. He paused. Asterisk. and for the one after. The first child born in the new place. The person who gets to have clouds and not remember why clouds are remarkable. He paused. The tired version forgets about the one after. The actual version knows it. Roslin had her hand over her mouth again. The specific gesture she used when something had landed somewhere important. Adama was looking at the table. The specific quality of a man who had been saying versions of this for 3 months and was hearing it from the outside for the first time. You, Kara said, are not what I expected. What did you expect? Buck said. I don't know, she said. Asterisk, something more. She paused. Less. The 21st century produced specific people, Buck said. Asterisk, we were direct about some things and sideways about others, but we didn't do less. He paused. It wasn't in the toolkit. Biddy, Twiki said from the landing bay, which meant, I am still here and I endorse everything the captain has said. Thank you, Twiki, Buck said. What did it say? Baltar said. He had been half attending to the conversation and half doing something on his device. The biddy had pulled his attention. He endorsed what I said, Buck said. The Ambiquad endorses your philosophy, Baltar said. He's perceptive for his size, Buck said. And Dr. Theopolis, Baltar said. He leaned forward. Asterisk, the prehistory documentation. The Kobolian language. Can I, he paused. I'd like to review the primary documents. Theo, Buck said. I can transmit the relevant files to the colonial network if given access credentials, Theopolis said. Though I would want the transmission to be monitored for both party security. Agreed, Adama said. And Dr. Baltar, Theopolis said. I would ask that you approach the documents with appropriate scholarly caution. The Earth Archive's classification of this material as recovered rather than generated is a significant distinction with significant implications that have not been fully resolved. I'm always appropriately cautious, Baltar said. Multiple people in the room had expressions that suggested this statement was not universally accepted. He says that a lot, Kara said to Buck quietly. Is it usually accurate? Buck said. Define usually, Kara said. The briefing moved from the general to the specific. Adama was thorough. This was the thing Buck noted and filed and respected. The thoroughness. Not the theatrical kind of thorough, not the kind that demonstrated thoroughness as a performance of competence. The genuine kind. The specific quality of someone who understood that the gap between what you knew and what you needed to know was the gap where disasters lived. The fleet's position, deep in the operational area that the Cylons were using for pursuit. 3 months of running had put them significantly beyond the colonies and significantly short of Earth. Exact distance uncertain. The navigational picture complicated by the specific challenges of FTL jump-based navigation. The fleet's condition, 47,000 survivors in approximately 200 ships. Civilian ships, primarily, transports, freighters, passenger vessels, with 1 Battlestar, 1 paper Battlestar, and a handful of military support vessels. Fuel was managed. Food was managed. Population was increasing. Babies born in the fleet were a regular occurrence. The math of a closed population under stress. The Cylon situation, the pursuit was consistent. The Cylons knew roughly where the fleet was at all times. The FTL jump signature was traceable given enough time. The fleet's advantage was speed of jump decisions and Galactica's combat capability as a deterrent to massed assault. The Cylons' advantage was numbers, resources, and the specific inexhaustibility of something that did not need to rest. They don't get tired, Buck said. No, Adama said. Your people do, Buck said. Yes. So the equation is unfavorable, Adama said. Long term. What's the long-term plan? Buck said. Earth, Adama said. Getting there before the equation resolves against us. And in the short term? Staying alive, Adama said. The short term is always staying alive. Buck absorbed this. Okay, he said. I have a question about the Cylons specifically. Ask, Adama said. Asterisk, the Cylon raiders I engaged today, they were targeting my ship almost immediately. Before I had done anything aggressive. The targeting was, he paused. Fast. Confident. Like they knew what I was. They scan everything they don't recognize, Kara said. Anything in this region of space that isn't a colonial ship or a silent ship gets targeted. It's their operational protocol. But they didn't destroy the Searcher, Buck said. The Searcher is large, Adama said. The Raiders were a patrol element. They would not commit to engaging a capital-class vessel without base star support. So they call for support, Buck said. Almost certainly, Adama said. Asterisk, there will be a base star moving toward the fleet's position within. He paused. Gata, from outside the briefing room, a voice. Admiral, give me a silent approach estimate. A pause. Based on the patrol contact timing, Admiral, I estimate base star contact within approximately 6 hours. Buck looked at the room. 6 hours, he said. Yes, Adama said. And you were planning to... Jump, Adama said. When the approach is confirmed, we jump. The Searcher is a complication. We cannot jump with it if it cannot jump with us. The Searcher can jump, Buck said. Asterisk. Our drive system is different from yours, but the principle is... Can your ship keep up with the fleet? Adama said. Our jumps cover significant distance in very short time. Buck said. I would need Admiral Adama's navigation officer to share jump coordinate parameters, Theopolis said. Our drive system operates on different principles, but the practical effect is similar. I can calculate whether the Searcher can match the fleet's jump range. I'll have Gata work with Dr. Theopolis, Adama said. I should mention, Theopolis said, that I will need specific data from the Searcher's navigational systems. This would require Twiki to access the Searcher's computer. The Ambiquad, Adama said. Yes, Theopolis said. He is the mobile unit. I provide the processing. He provides the physical access. Under supervision, Adama said. Of course, Theopolis said. Colonel Tai will supervise both the Ambiquad and the database access, Adama said. Any attempt to access systems beyond what is explicitly authorized, and both units are to be shut down. Understood, Theopolis said. Inappropriate. Buck looked at Adama. You're not comfortable with this, Buck said. I'm never comfortable with artificial intelligences accessing my ship systems, Adama said. In my experience, that has a consistent outcome. I understand, Buck said. I'm asking you to extend trust to 2 specific AIs who are not the kind that destroyed your worlds. I know what that's asking. Yes, Adama said. You do. And I'm asking anyway, Buck said. Yes, Adama said. Asterisk, you are. He paused. Captain Rogers. Yes, Admiral. If your AI accesses anything beyond the parameters set. If I have any reason to believe the trust was misplaced. I know, Buck said. Say it, Adama said. You'll shut them down, Buck said. And you'll be right too. Adama looked at him. The assessment. The thing passed the assessment. We jump in 6 hours, Adama said. Asterisk. Unless the Cylons come sooner. He paused. Get your ship ready. Yes, sir, Buck said. He stood. One more thing, Adama said. Buck paused. Your ship will fly with us, Adama said. You will operate under my command structure for the duration. Understood, Buck said. Though I should mention, I don't usually do well with command structures. No one does, Adama said. The difference between those who make it work and those who don't is not the comfort with the structure. It is the recognition that the structure exists for everyone's survival. Buck looked at him. You make a good point, Buck said. I usually do, Adama said. Biddy biddy, Twiki said from the landing bay, which meant, in the fullest translation, he really does. Buck found Kara in the landing bay. She was doing what pilots did when they were processing something, checking her Viper. Not because it needed checking, because the checking was the physical version of thinking and she needed both. Buck came down the ramp of the Searcher. Twiki was standing nearby, restored to his position of proximity to Buck, which was Twiki's preferred operational posture. Buck watched Kara check the Viper for a moment. Then, nice ship, he said. I said that first, she said, not looking at him. You said nice ship about mine, Buck said. I'm saying it about yours. What do you know about Vipers? She said. Nothing, Buck said. Asterisk, but I know nice ship when I see it. He paused. It's got the look. What look? She said. The look of something that was built for exactly what it does, Buck said. Asterisk, no extra. No the Kedashchin. Just the thing. He paused. My fighter has a little extra. The 25th century liked its aesthetics. Yours doesn't. It's all function. She stopped checking, looked at him. Most people think function without decoration is honest, Buck said. I think it's honest. Kara looked at the Viper, at the specific lines of it. Yeah, she said. That's one word for it. I like to fly together, Buck said. She looked at him. When, she said. When the base star gets here, Buck said, which according to Adama is approximately 6 hours or sooner. You want to fly against a base star, she said. I want to be useful, Buck said. Asterisk. In 6 hours, there's going to be something requiring pilots. I'm a pilot. He paused. I'd like to know how you fly before we're in it. She assessed him. The movie did, she said, against the second raider. The 90-degree vertical. Yes, he said. That shouldn't work, she said. At that closing speed with that turn radius. It worked, he said. I know, she said. Asterisk, I watched it. She paused. Ow! My fighter has a structural integrity field, Buck said. It compensates for inertial stress at high maneuver angles, which means my turn envelope is wider than a Viper's, she said. In some configurations, Buck said, asterisk different in others. He paused. Asterisk. I can go places you can at that speed. You can go places I can't at different speeds. He paused. Together we cover more of the envelope. She looked at him. You've thought about this, she said. I've been thinking about it since we landed, he said. Specifically, since the Admiral mentioned 6 hours. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant the captain thinks about tactical situations at all times. It is one of his consistent qualities. Thanks, Twiki, Buck said. Your robot talks too much, Kara said. He carries Dr. Theopolis, Buck said. It's osmotic. She almost smiled. Not quite. The specific almost smile of someone who had decided smiling was available, but not in the current context. Why did you come here? She said. The anomaly. You came through it by accident. Yes, Buck said. Then you could go back, she said. When we figure out the navigation, you could go back to your mission, your timeline, your Earth. Buck was quiet. Yes, he said. I could. Why aren't you? She said. He looked at the landing bay, at the ships in it, at the specific quality of the fleet visible through the bay doors, the civilian ships, the transports, the freighters, all of them carrying people who were doing the specific daily calculation of whether they had enough to get through the day. Because I came from there, he said. Asterisk, from the place where you run, and there's no end to the running, and you wake up every morning and make the calculation, and the calculation comes out negative, and you do the day anyway. He paused. Asterisk, I came from that place. Not the same one. My version of it. He paused. Asterisk, when I woke up in 2491 and the world was not what I remembered and everyone I'd ever known was 500 years dead, I made the calculation. He paused. It came out negative. She was very still. And, she said, and I did the day anyway, he said. Asterisk, because the morning has more in it than the calculation knows about. He paused. Asterisk, I know what that feels like. From the inside. He paused. These people need someone who knows what it feels like from the inside. She looked at him. The full weight of the assessment. Not the pilot assessment, the other one. You're staying, she said. Until you get where you're going, he said. That could take years, she said. I've got time, Buck said. I've had a lot of practice with time. She looked at the Viper, at her ship, at the specific function without decoration of it, at the thing it did and was built for. 6 hours, she said. 6 hours, he said. We'll go up, she said. I'll show you the pattern. You show me the vertical. We figure out how our envelopes fit together before the chrome things get here. That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say, Buck said. I know, she said. That's why I said it. She went back to checking the Viper. Buck watched her check it. Starbuck, he said. Don't, she said. I wasn't going to say anything sentimental, he said. You were going to say something. I was going to say, the vertical works better if the target is pursuing and you have at least 40 meters of approach before the turn. Under 40 meters, the turn radius catches you. She stopped checking, looked at him. That's useful, she said. I thought so, he said. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant the captain is occasionally useful. High praise from the Ambiquad, Buck said. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant I am always precise. Kara looked at the small robot, at the disc on the robot's chest, at the specific combination of the two. "Your AI," she said. "Dr. Theopolis." "Yes," Buck said. "He's actually in that disc," she said. "Yes," Buck said. "Asterisk, he's not." She paused. "He's not the same as the Cylons." "No," Buck said. "How do you know?" she said. "How do you know for certain?" Buck thought about this. The specific, honest thought of someone who had been asked a question that deserved an honest answer. "I don't," he said. Asterisk, not with certainty. Not the kind of certainty that requires no faith. He paused. Asterisk, I know him. I know his choices. I know what he does when the situation gives him the option to do the wrong thing. He paused. He doesn't. That could be programming, she said. It could be, Buck said. Asterisk, or it could be character. He paused. Asterisk, the difference between those two things is one of the big questions. I've been asking it for 25 years of my first life and 500 years of my second one. He paused. Asterisk, I haven't resolved it. He paused. But I've decided which one I'm going to act on until I'm shown I'm wrong. She was quiet. And if you're shown you're wrong, she said. Then I'm wrong, he said. Asterisk, and I deal with that when it happens. He paused. The alternative, acting like character, doesn't exist because it might be programming, costs more than it gains. She looked at him. Your version of Earth, she said. 25th century. Is it better than this? He looked at the landing bay, at the civilian fleet through the bay doors, at the battered walls of Galactica, at the specific quality of 47,000 people in ships going somewhere they had never been because the place they had been was gone. Yes, he said. Asterisk and no. He paused. Asterisk, it has its problems. It has its specific versions of the calculation. He paused. Asterisk, but the clouds, he paused. On a good day, the clouds are the kind that make you feel small in the good way, she said. He looked at her. She had been listening to the Roslin conversation. Yeah, he said. That kind. She looked at the Viper one more time. Then she looked at Buck. 5 hours and 45 minutes, she said. Meet me here. I'll be here, he said. She walked out of the landing bay. Buck stood in it. Biddy, Twiki said quietly, which meant she's going to be important. I know, Buck said. Biddy biddy, Twiki said, which meant be careful with that. I'm always careful, Buck said. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant that is objectively false, and we both know it. Fair, Buck said. He went back up the ramp to talk to Theopolis about the navigation, about the 6 hours, about the fleet that was going somewhere it had never been, and about whether the somewhere it was going was what it believed it was, which was, he suspected, the most important question in the room, and the one with the most complicated answer. Baltar worked the way he always worked, which was to say, with the specific intensity of a man for whom thinking was not a voluntary activity, but a constitutional one, the way breathing was constitutional, the way the heart's beating was constitutional. He could not think. This had been true since he was a child on Erelon, the specific agricultural world where he had grown up and from which he had spent his entire adult life carefully curating a distance. Not running from Erelon, which would have required acknowledging there was something to run from, but building an identity that occupied the maximum possible distance from it in every dimension. He thought constantly. The quality of his thinking was extraordinary. This was not self-aggrandizement. It was the specific, accurate assessment of something that had been measurably true since the first aptitude evaluations and had remained consistently true through every subsequent assessment. He was the best mind in the fleet, possibly among the best minds in the surviving human population of the 12 worlds, though that comparison was more difficult to make given that the sample size had been catastrophically reduced. He was the best mind. And the best mind was currently working on the files that Theopolis had transmitted. The files were remarkable, not in the obvious way, not in the way that remarkable things were usually remarkable, with a specific dramatic quality of information that announced its own significance. These files were remarkable in the quieter way, the way that things were remarkable when they were precisely what they appeared to be, and precisely what they appeared to be was extraordinary. Prehistory documentation, in a language that the Earth linguists had identified as consistent with ancient Kobolian. He had the Colonial Linguistic Archive on one screen and the Earth files on another, and he was cross-referencing with the specific methodical speed of someone for whom cross-referencing was a physical pleasure. The patterns were, extraordinary was not a strong enough word. The convergence was. "You're excited?" Six said. He did not look up. "I'm working," he said. "You're excited and working," she said. Asterisk, the two are not mutually exclusive. She moved closer. The specific movement of her presence in his visual field that had become as familiar to him as anything in his current existence. "What are you finding?" "Something I don't fully understand yet," he said. Asterisk, which is unusual. He paused, which is also significant. "Tell me," she said. The Earth prehistory documentation. He pulled up a specific file. This section here. The Earth Archive classified it as recovered cosmogony, a creation account, in the recovered language that their linguists identified as Proto-Kobolian. A creation account, Six said. "The thing that interests me," Baltar said, asterisk, "is not the content of the creation account specifically. It's the form of it." He pointed at the screen. Asterisk, the structure of this document it's not mythology in the way mythology usually presents. Mythology is generally the specific narrative transformation of historical events into archetypal stories. Events become metaphors. People become gods. Specific battles become cosmic struggles. He paused. "This doesn't do that." "What does it do?" Six said. "It reads like a log," Baltar said. Asterisk, a specific record of events, not transformed in a narrative, described. In a specific, careful language of someone who is recording rather than storytelling. He paused. Someone who was there and wanted to remember it accurately. Six was looking at the screen. "There," she said. "That section." He looked. She was pointing, or the version of pointing that her presence produced in his perception, at a specific passage. "Yes," he said. "That section." "Read it," she said. He read it. In the translation that the Earth linguist had produced, imperfect, flagged with uncertainty markers at multiple points, the specific academic humility of scholars working with incomplete language data. We divided ourselves as was decided, 12 groups and one apart. The apart group chose the other direction, which was their right. The division was not dispute. The division was exploration. We had always explored in two directions simultaneously. We agreed to remember each other in the naming. The apart group named their first world for the mother concept, the word in a shared language that meant origin, home, beginning. We named our 12 for the path concepts, each world named for the direction or quality of the journey to it. We agreed that when the paths had been walked far enough, we would return to each other. This is the record of that agreement. Baltar read it. "Read it again." The briefing room, where he was sitting alone with a datapad and his screens, was very quiet. Gaius, Six said. "Yes," he said. "The apart group," she said, "named their first world for the mother concept," he said. The word in the shared language that meant origin, home, beginning, which in ancient Kobolian, Six said, is Kobol, Baltar said. "Yes." "And the 12 groups," she said, "named their worlds for path concepts," Baltar said. Asterisk, each world named for the direction or quality of the journey to it. He paused. "The 12 colonies, which means the Earth group," Six said, "was not the 13th tribe," Baltar said slowly. Asterisk, the Earth civilization, if this document is accurate, separated from the Kobol civilization before the colonies were established. Not after. He paused. "They're not the 13th. They're the original. The ones who went in the other direction while the 12 groups went in theirs. Which means Earth and the colonies are," Six said. "Siblings," Baltar said. Asterisk, not parent and child. Siblings. From the same origin. He paused. Asterisk, Kobol is the parent. Earth and the 12 colonies are both children, who separated and went in different directions. He paused, and who agreed to find each other again when the paths had been walked far enough. The briefing room was very quiet. Outside it, the fleet was continuing its specific daily operation of surviving. The crew of Galactica was doing what crews did when they were not actively in crisis. The maintenance, the rotation, the specific continuous work of keeping a ship alive. Baltar was not thinking about any of that. This changes things, Six said. This changes everything, Baltar said. Asterisk, the prophecy about Earth, the mythology around the 13th tribe. It's been framed as the colonials going home, going to the origin, to the place where their ancestors came from. He paused. Asterisk, if this document is accurate, that's wrong. They're not going home. They're going to meet their siblings, who left at the same time from the same place and went in a different direction. He paused. The meeting was always the plan. Tell Adama, Six said. Yes, Baltar said. Asterisk, obviously. He paused. But there's something else. Something I haven't, he stopped. Pulled up a different section of the file. Here. What is that? Six said. Technical documentation, Baltar said. Asterisk, in the recovered language. The Earth Archive classified it as recovered procedural record. They couldn't make sense of it because the technology it describes is, he paused. Asterisk, it's not anything Earth had developed by the 25th century. He paused. But it is something the colonies had. What is it? Six said. Jump technology, Baltar said. Asterisk, or more precisely, the theoretical framework that jump technology is based on. He paused. Asterisk, someone on Kobol, or at the point of divergence before the separation, developed the theoretical framework for FTL displacement, and both groups took it with them. He paused. Asterisk, and independently developed it into their respective jump drive technologies. He paused, which is why colonial jump drives and Earth's FTL systems are based on different technical implementations of the same underlying principle. Captain Rogers mentioned that Six said that his ship could jump. Different implementation, Baltar said. Asterisk, same principle. Because they both came from the same theoretical foundation. He paused. Asterisk, Kobolian physics. He paused, which is older than both of them. Gaius Six said, yes. There's something you haven't said yet, she said. He knew what she meant. He had been circling it. The specific thing that was in the document. The section he had read 3 times and had not yet processed to the point of saying it aloud. Because saying it aloud would make it real in a way that it was not quite real yet. The agreement, he said. Yes, she said. We agreed that when the paths had been walked far enough, we would return to each other, he said. Asterisk, that's the agreement in the document. He paused. There's a rider to the agreement. In the section after the main text. A specific clause. Tell me, she said. Asterisk, the rider says, he looked at the screen. In the translation, if one group's path is interrupted before the return, if disaster comes before the meeting, the other group is bound by the agreement. The bound group is to find what remains and to carry it the rest of the way. The agreement survives the disaster. The return does not require both groups to arrive under their own power. It only requires arrival. The briefing room, the quiet. Six looking at the screen. The agreement survives the disaster, she said. Yes, Baltar said. The return does not require both groups to arrive under their own power, she said. It only requires arrival, he said. Which means, she said slowly, that if this document is real, if the agreement is real, Earth is not just the destination. Earth is the fulfillment of an obligation that existed before the colonies existed. An obligation that was made at Kobol, Baltar said. Asterisk, when 2 groups of people decided to go in different directions and agreed to find each other again. He paused. Asterisk, and one group's path was interrupted. He paused. By us. The specific silence. By the Cylons, he said. The colony's path was interrupted. By an artificial intelligence created by the colonies. Which means, the obligation, Six said, is ours, Baltar said. Asterisk also. He paused. Asterisk, the Cylons interrupted the path. The obligation of the agreement demands that the interrupted path be completed. He paused, that's a very specific theological argument for a very specific conclusion, which is, Six said, asterisk, which is that the Cylons, by destroying the colonies, didn't end the agreement. They triggered it, the disaster clause. He paused. Asterisk, the agreement was designed to survive exactly what happened. He paused. Someone at Kobol anticipated something going wrong and built the contingency into the founding agreement. Someone at Kobol anticipated the Cylons, Six said. Someone anticipated the possibility of catastrophic interruption, Baltar said. Asterisk yes. He paused. Asterisk the document is, he paused. The document is old enough that it predates the Cylons by millennia. Someone at Kobol, before the separation, before the colonies, before any of it, anticipated that a disaster might happen and wrote the contingency. Or, Six said, the document was not written before the separation. Baltar looked at her. What do you mean? He said. I mean, she said, asterisk that the document appears in the Earth Archive as a recovered prehistory artifact. But recovered doesn't mean when it was found. It means when the content dates to. She paused. What if the document is genuine, real, accurately recording what it says, but the recording was made later, after the separation, by someone who was creating a historical record of an agreement that had already been made? That would change the dating, Baltar said. And if it was recorded later, Six said, asterisk, it might have been recorded by someone who already knew what was coming. He paused. Not anticipated. Knew. Baltar was very quiet. That implies he started. Yes, she said. That implies someone in the Kobolian civilization had foreknowledge of the Cylons, Baltar said. Asterisk of the attack, of the disaster. He paused and built the contingency not as a precaution, but as a map, knowing exactly what would happen and leaving exactly the right instructions for what to do when it did. Is that possible? Six said. Prophecy is possible, Baltar said. Asterisk, the president believes in it. There are enough examples of, he paused. Asterisk, there is enough evidence for a certain kind of foreknowledge to not be dismissed. He paused. The document may have been written by someone who saw what was coming and left the map, Six said. And left the map, he said. He sat with this, the extraordinary weight of it. You should tell Adama, Six said. Yes, he said. And Roslin, she said. Yes, he said. Now, she said. Yes, he said. He did not move. Gaius, she said. I know, he said. You're going to tell them, she said. All of it. Yes, he said. Including the part about the Cylons being the trigger for the disaster clause, she said. Yes, he said. And the part about foreknowledge, she said. Yes, he said. You know how that will be received, she said. With significant skepticism, he said. Asterisk yes. He paused. But I have the document. It's not my interpretation. The document says what the document says. They'll question the document's authenticity, she said. Yes, he said. Asterisk, that's appropriate scholarly skepticism. He paused. Asterisk, but even if half of it is authentic, even if only the agreement clause is accurate, the implications are, he paused, significant. Tell them, she said. He looked at her, at the specific presence of her, at the specific quality of what she was to him, not what he had once believed she was, not what the simplest understanding of the situation would suggest. Something more complicated, something that had evolved in the specific way that things evolved when they were subjected to conditions that required evolution or elimination. Six, he said. Yes, she said. The document, he said. The disaster clause. The obligation. Yes, she said. If the Cylons are the reason the disaster clause was triggered, he started, then the obligation falls on them too, she said. Asterisk, not to find the fleet, but to, she paused, to not be what prevents the arrival. Is that possible? He said. For your people. She was quiet for a long moment. The specific quiet of an intelligence grappling with a question that had multiple answers and required choosing between them. I don't know, she said. Asterisk, it would require a decision that not all of my people have made. She paused. Asterisk, but the document doesn't say all of them have to make it. She paused. Asterisk, it says the obligation is to ensure arrival, not to participate in it. He paused. Non-interference is also a form of obligation fulfillment. You're saying the Cylons could fulfill the obligation by letting the fleet reach Earth, Baltar said. I'm saying the disaster clause doesn't require anything of the Cylons that they are not capable of choosing, she said. And will they choose it? He said. She looked at him. I don't know, she said. Asterisk, not all of them. She paused. But I know that the document exists, and that if some of them read it, if some of them understood the obligation they created by triggering the disaster clause, some of them might choose differently, he said. Yes, she said. That's a very thin hope, he said. It is, she said. Asterisk, but thin hopes are what's available. She paused. Go talk to Adama. He stood, picked up his data pad, went to the door, stopped. The captain, he said. Rogers. What about him, she said. He's from Earth, Baltar said. Asterisk, specifically from the group that made the agreement. The group that, he paused. He's the proof. Yes, she said. Asterisk, his existence, his being here, is evidence that the agreement still applies. That the Earth civilization is real. That the sibling group is real. That the paths can be completed. He paused. He didn't come here by accident. No, she said. The anomaly, Baltar said. Asterisk, it brought him here specifically. Now, when the fleet is, he paused. When the paths are at their closest point in history. Do you believe in coincidence? She said. I believe in physics, he said. Asterisk, and in the specific subset of physics that accounts for the things that look like coincidence but are the intersection of many forces moving in the same direction. He paused. This looks like that. Then go talk to Adama, she said, and tell Captain Rogers that he didn't come through that anomaly by accident. Will he believe it? Baltar said. He's from the 21st century, she said. Asterisk. He was frozen in space for 500 years. He woke up in a completely different world and made it work. She paused. He believes in more things than you might expect. Baltar looked at the screen, at the document, at the specific weight of what it said and what it implied and what it meant for 47,000 people in ships behind a Battlestar going somewhere they had never been. Yes, he said. He left. He found Buck Rogers in the landing bay, working on his fighter with Twiki in the way of pilots who worked on their own ships. Not because they were mechanics, because the working was thinking and the thinking needed an object. Captain Rogers, Baltar said. Buck looked up from the panel he was examining. At Baltar. At the specific expression Baltar was wearing, the expression of a man who had found something significant and was managing the specific discomfort of being the person who had found it. Dr. Baltar, Buck said. I've been reviewing the files, Baltar said. I know, Buck said. Theopolis told me you had access. There is something in the files, Baltar said, asterisk that I need to tell you. And the Admiral, and the President. He paused. Asterisk. But I wanted to tell you first because he paused. Because you're a part of what the files say, and you deserve to know that. Buck set down the tool he was holding, looked at Baltar with the full weight of his attention. Tell me, he said. Baltar told him. He told him the agreement, the separation, the siblings, the disaster clause, the obligation. He told him the foreknowledge hypothesis. He told him what it implied about why Buck Rogers had come through the anomaly. When he finished, the landing bay was quiet. Biddy, Twiki said softly, which meant something that did not have a good translation. Something like, oh. Buck was looking at the floor, at the specific quality of someone who had received very large information and was doing the work of integrating it. You're saying, he started. I'm saying, Baltar said, that the records suggest your civilization and this civilization share an origin and share an obligation, and that your arrival here, now, at this specific moment, may not be the accident it appeared to be. Buck looked at him. The anomaly, Buck said. Yes, Baltar said. Was not random, Buck said. I cannot prove it, Baltar said. Asterisk. The evidence is suggestive rather than conclusive. But the convergence of, he paused. Asterisk, the convergence of the timing, the content of the document, the specific disaster clause, your being here, he paused. It is the kind of convergence that has a low probability of being coincidence. Buck was very quiet. The agreement says the obligation is to carry what remains the rest of the way. Buck said. Yes, Baltar said. Carry the fleet to Earth. Buck said. Facilitate the arrival, Baltar said. The document's language is careful. It doesn't specify the form of the facilitation, but the intention is that the Earth civilization honors the agreement by receiving their siblings, Baltar said. Yes, Buck looked at the landing bay, at Galactica around him, at the civilian fleet visible through the bay doors, at 47,000 people who had lost everything and were going somewhere they had never been, going to a place that might, according to a document that might be authentic and might be the most significant historical find in two civilizations' histories, going to a place that was expecting them, had always been expecting them. Theo, Buck said. Yes, Captain, Theopolis said from around Twiki's neck. You heard, Buck said. I heard, Theopolis said. Is it real? Buck said. The document. In your assessment. Theopolis was quiet. The specific processing quiet. The linguistic consistency is real, Theopolis said. Asterisk, the document's language is not a perfect match for ancient Kobolian, as documented in the colonial archives, but is within the expected range of divergence for a language that split into two separate development streams several millennia ago. He paused. Asterisk, the content is internally consistent. The structure is, as Dr. Baltar noted, not mythological in the typical sense. He paused. If I were asked to assign a probability to the document being authentic, assign it, Buck said. 73%, Theopolis said, with a confidence interval of plus or minus 12%. So somewhere between 61 and 85% chance it's real, Buck said. Yes, Theopolis said, in very rough terms. That's, Buck paused. That's not a certainty. No, Theopolis said, but it is a significant probability. Buck looked at Baltar. How do you feel about it? Buck said. Baltar looked at him, at the question, at the specific quality of a man asking a scientist how he felt about something. I feel, Baltar said carefully, asterisk, that I am in the presence of something that is either extraordinarily important or extraordinarily misleading, and that the probability distribution significantly favors the former. He paused. Asterisk, I also feel, he paused again. I feel what I always feel when I find something like this, which is the specific, uncomfortable excitement of someone who has found an answer that raises more questions than it resolves. Is that good or bad? Buck said. In my experience, Baltar said, it is always both. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant, that is the most honest thing Dr. Baltar has said since I arrived. I think that's a compliment, Baltar said. From Twiki, Buck said it is. He stood up fully, looked at the landing bay, at the fighter, at the fleet. We need to talk to Adama, he said. Yes, Baltar said. Now, Buck said. Yes, Baltar said. And we need to have the full version of the conversation, Buck said. Asterisk, not the hedged version. Not that this might be real version. He paused. The actual version. What the document says and what it implies. That will be, Baltar started. A lot, Buck said. Asterisk, I know. He paused. When is it never a lot? Biddy, Twiki said, which meant never in my experience. Let's go, Buck said. He walked toward the briefing room. Baltar fell in a step beside him. Captain Rogers, Baltar said. Yeah. Asterisk, how are you? He paused. Asterisk, you've just been told that your arrival here may have been orchestrated. That you are potentially the fulfillment of an obligation that predates both your civilization and theirs. That the reason you came through the anomaly may not be physics, but something. He paused. Something else. How am I handling it? Buck said. Yes, Baltar said. Buck was quiet for a moment. I came out a 20-year space nap into a world 500 years ahead of me, he said. Asterisk. I've been handling things I wasn't prepared for since before you were born. He paused. You get a certain comfort with the unexpected. That's not really an answer, Baltar said. No, Buck said. Asterisk, it's not. He paused. Asterisk, the real answer is, I don't know yet. I haven't finished processing it. He paused. Asterisk, but I know that the processing doesn't wait for the situation. The situation goes on regardless. He paused. So I'll process while we move. Biddy, Twiki said, which meant that is his standard approach. Does it work? Baltar said. Mostly, Buck said. And when it doesn't? Baltar said. Then something interesting happens, Buck said. He pushed open the briefing room door. Admiral Adama looked up. At Buck. At Baltar. at the specific quality of two people who had been somewhere and had found something and were now bringing it to him. "Admiral," Buck said, "we need to talk." "Get Roslin," Adama said immediately, reading the quality of the thing in front of him. "Already on her way," Baltar said. "I come her from the landing bay." Adama looked at them, at the data pad in Baltar's hands, at the specific weight of the moment before something significant was said. "Sit," he said. They sat. The briefing room of Galactica, where hard decisions were made, about to receive the information that would make the hardest ones, the ones about where to go and why and what it meant, into something different. Not easier, Toa,